Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lives in Live, our weekly Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Time live Q&A with the people behind Lives in Designs. My name is Andrew Gibbs Dabney. We're going to be joined here shortly by Chris Woolis, who's actually knocking on us right now. So I'm going to go. What's up, y'all that are already here? This is going to be a really cool episode, mainly because we've got a lot of new people on here from Kickstarter. Hey, Chris.
Hey, y'all.
A lot of new fans, a lot of people coming in to see what's going on with Lives In. I'm going to adjust my angle just a little bit. I'm going to give a quick intro for this episode. It's going to be really cool because we're actually going to go over some of our behind-the-scenes stuff. So we've got our fabrics and trims. We're going to go over the production process of how to take something from an idea all the way to a product that's made in full bulk production for resale. So we're going to start with some fabrics and trims. We'll go.
Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we're going to go into some actual tech packs. So this is actually the blueprints behind how we make clothing. This is the instructions for the factory on how to do it. And then some more fun stuff like that. If you are new here, we are Lives in Designs. We make clothing for people who value experiences more than stuff. So what that means is basically we make clothing as durable, functional, and good looking as possible for people who want to own less and spend more time doing what they love. So if you accept the premise that you want to own less clothing, right, then you want it to be high quality and service purpose well. And that's who we're making clothing for. That's who we're, if you've decided I want to own less stuff, but better stuff, we're here for you.
That's right.
So, yeah, that's Chris's edition right there. So I switched my camera view. Let's see. Here we go. I would like to remind y'all that you have the ability to comment down there and ask questions. We're going to go through the production process, but we're also here to lend transparency to the process of what we do. We don't want to hide behind the computer, hide behind the brand.
Yep.
We're making a product in this world. We feel like you guys should have the ability to ask whatever question you want, get the information you need to make the purchase from us, to feel good about it, and see, what we're all about. So, right there in that comment, put your questions in. It can be about Kickstarter. If it can be about the Flex Canvas pants in particular, if you want to know about the pants. It can be about sustainable apparel. It can be about running a Kickstarter, what it takes to kind of launch that campaign. Yep. Or generally anything. We're down to talk about sustainability. We're down to talk about style, fashion, apparel, the production process, material, trims, whatever you want. Outdoor recreation, if you want to talk about ultralight backpacking, Chris is your guy. If you want to talk about mountain biking or boating, I'm your guy. We're here to talk to you. The Kickstarter is live right now.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you. We have gotten to, I think, right around $65,000 so far in about a week.
I think we passed 65 just a little while ago. So that's good.
Nice. Yeah. So last time we actually launched this company on Kickstarter last year, we raised $78,000 over the course of 30 days. We're actually getting close to that after 7 days now. So that is 100% because of your support, because of your ability to come on there and let us know that you'll help us produce these products because you think that they truly are better than
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to think that, honestly.
It's very humbling.
Yeah, like 10 years ago, probably 5 years ago, a little more than that, we wouldn't have had this option. We wouldn't be here because we didn't want to take the traditional route to building a company. We wanted to bring you into the process.
And also 5 years ago, fast fashion was at its peak where it was kind of this idea of, like buy once, use it, and get rid of it type of mindset. And I'm so happy to hear that you guys and, just the industry at large is starting to adopt the idea of slowing down and really taking in and buying the things that you really appreciate and love and caring for them. So it's awesome.
Right. I mean, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, we've come around to the time when it seems like the world is moving into accepting buying less stuff, not just buying because it's on sale or cheap because you want it right now, but we're seeing what the true ramifications of consuming and behaving that way is. I mean,
it's pretty awesome.
We're nearing 8 billion people on the planet. I think there's 80 billion garments are made every year, leading to the apparel industry becoming the second largest polluter in the world. We obviously can't keep going at status quo, which means that we need to, for us, the logical step for us was to be a part of the movement towards building better clothing.
That's correct.
That's actually built to last and function well and not marketed at you as an impulse purchase, but say, hey, if you're ready to buy something new, you can't find it used, right? You found you're out to buy a pair of pants or a jacket that we make. Buy it from us, and we're going to tell you that we're going to build it as well as we possibly can, and then we're going to go beyond that because we don't feel like when we sold it to you that that's your problem, right? We stand behind that.
And another thing that, you know, me and you were hitting on last week at the trade show, I think that was so important was, you know, when we were children, we were so drilled with the idea of the 3 R's, and the first one that people tend to forget is reduce.
Yeah, and that's reduce,
reuse, recycle.
Yeah.
And so it's this idea that I think a lot of people think the recycle is the first one. And so they, you know, it's, but really it's like reduce to the point to find the things you really need and use them well. And if you can't reuse it, then that's when it's time to recycle it. And that's also something that, you know, if you guys do support us, and if, you know, over the years, if something gets to a point where it is non-usable anymore, you can always send it back to us. We don't need to have it set up yet because there's no need at this point because we believe in our product, but we will have a system where you can send back products that are old, and we will make sure they go to the right place to either get upcycled or, you know, we'll figure this system out.
Right. And that's a really important thing kind of down. You said it really well, is that we don't want the products that we make to end up in the landfill.
Yeah.
Right. So there's the whole concept of circular fashion, which is basically use less harmful materials. Step 1, increase utility of what you make. Step 2, increase longevity of what you make. Step 3, and then recycle it back into the supply.
Yeah.
So we've taken 1 through 3 wholeheartedly, and we basically are fully prepared to utilize or to
I
go
believe that.
4. And, you know, when your products, after you take advantage of our at-cost repair program, say your knee blows out on your pants, send it back to us, let us repair it, let us send it back to you, keep those pants for longer, keep them out of the landfill, and then when they finally bit the dust, send them back to us. And then we're gonna figure out a way to upcycle them, if we can reuse the buttons, the shanks, the zippers, if we can take that fabric and build a cool jacket or something out of that leftover canvas, we're going to. And then, you know, there's also really cool partners that are coming up on this front from people that are the recycling of fabric. The industry is actually moving ahead pretty quickly, which is cool.
I think you'll see a lot of that start moving in that direction, finding ways to upcycle old garments, which will be exciting.
Right. And something interesting that I've learned through this process is the biggest barrier to actually recycling fabric and clothing is improper labeling, which is kind of funny to think about, because if you get a shirt that is 100% cotton and it says made out of 100% cotton, but they failed to address that the neck taping has polyester in it, and that is now an impure input and into the recycling secondary industrial, you know, the ecosystem, they can't use that anymore, because they have to have a pure input. You can't say I'm going to make a recycled cotton shirt if it has polyester in the supply chain. It treats differently. So we are actually on the front side of that by labeling correctly, which is cool.
We ready to take a few questions and then jump into the design process? It's kind of an exciting episode for us because we love to share with people the ideas and how they get developed into products. So take a couple questions and then we'll jump right into it. Yeah,
I'll read this one, and I don't know what it says yet, but I think it'll be okay. So this is Sequel of Decay. It says, I love my current Flex Canvas pants. Thank you. That was me. I would have bought 10 pairs if a black color was available, so I'm extremely excited that charcoal is a new color. I'm wondering how dark or black is the charcoal? Chris,
three shades up from black.
It's
pretty dark.
It is. I probably, y'all want to see the most expensive coloring book ever, or book of colors? Pantone. Talk about a monopoly. They control the color game, but these are actually colors on cotton, and this does not come out well enough to show you, but our charcoal is here. So what Chris said is it's not a pure black. It's not a kind of purplish, which I'm talking about all the things that it's not, which is probably the best way to do it. It's just a very nice, very, very dark charcoal that's really black.
And one thing that's cool about that, I think, is the way it ages as well. It's going to be a nice color. I think that color will last. I think you'll want to wear it for years. It's going to be it's a really cool thing. You guys are going to be excited about it.
Right. Yeah. And another thing is we actually use the color equivalent for a digital color on the campaign for the stretch goals and the
yeah, that's actually a good point. We did.
And the rewards, so the little graphics we have on our campaign that show like the different reward tiers and the stretch goals. That's the digital equivalent of the charcoal we're actually going to use for our pants. So you can actually take a look at that and see how close it is to black, but you've got a little bit of that haziness on there that we
like. So Sequel of Decay, when you go to put the survey in at the end, just all black for you, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Charcoal.
He said thank you. I bought 2 pairs of those. I'll likely buy more. Well, man, right on. So
that's great.
I love hearing that. I also want to make sure that buy the 2 and wear the shit out of them. Let's prepare them and then buy 2 more. It'd be great to buy 4, but we want to it kind of defeats the purpose. We want you to own less and live more and all that. So anyway, aside the point, I probably shouldn't say that to people.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it looks like we got one more. This is Brian K 414. What comes after the pants? And then in parentheses, also excited about the charcoal like the other guy. And then he also says, parkas?
Well, we don't have any parkas. We have so one hobby of ours that we kind of just do all the time is constantly designing, and that's what we're going to get into this episode in just a minute here. But it's being such a small brand and a startup, it's really easy for me and Andrew to throw ideas back and forth constantly and come up with tons of products. And what really happens is you have to look at why we're making and what is the reasoning, and not just producing just to produce. So we have shot ideas back and forth and actually have some mock-ups done and really looked at some use case of why you would make a parka and does it fit with our branding. So I wouldn't say that you won't see a parka in the future, but at this present time, we've kind of just shot back and forth, and it's something that might happen in the future. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. And like Chris said, that's what got us into this. We absolutely love creating clothing. It's just it's just a cool thing to be like, hey, this is a neat product. We see it. He sends it to me on the internet, or one of us has it, and we say, well, it could be this much better. Or, hey, I've been looking for this particular kind of pair of pants or a jacket that just we can't find. No one's doing it the way that we feel like it should be done, and then we kind of get carried away. And this is a good segue. I want to answer your question real fast. We have some things in active development. So we have the overalls, which are behind me, in this really nice peach color. They're a double knee, double butt, heavier version of the Flex Canvas pants. This is a second prototype, and we're getting third proto here soon. That'll actually be in our colors. That one's being slow developed, I like to call it, kind of slow rolled, in the sense that one of our friends,
heavily tested.
Yeah, he's an organic farmer by trade, has been testing these, and he's going to test the third one, and we're going to make sure that before we put out a piece that's meant to be used hard in the field as a workwear piece, that it is tested and vetted in the field as a workwear piece, and it really is as good. We're also in development of a lightweight, kind of a ripstop full synthetic version of our pants with a stretched waistband, a button fly, same articulated knees, a little bit roomier fit with a tapered ankle. I think 6 pockets. Just a really good, full synthetic, very technical, climbing through hiking pants.
It's pretty much the antithesis of what we've just done. It's the polar opposite. We came up with, for us, the everyday user of the Flex Canvas pants, and how you can really have that for, as your standard pant. And then we wanted to build something that was the more technical pant that would be used for specific case scenarios, and they're coming really nice. So
yeah, and the nice thing about those is too, just like the Flex Canvas pants, they're just comfortable as all hell.
I know.
You're gonna wear them all the time.
Yeah.
Another thing, just real quick, we have in development, I'm kind of excited about. Keep in mind, these big kind of goofy buttons are just for sampling. This is a short sleeve and a long sleeve button down that we're going for. Obviously, this is the short sleeve. But this is a 100% recycled polyester with mechanical stretch. It's also a double.
Really nice piece.
Let's see if we can zoom in there. So
you can't see it really, but
the outside's smooth. The inside you can see it. It's got
textured rays,
waffle. So it's recycled polyester. It's sweat wicking. It's stretchy. It's really lightweight. It's very breathable. And the way that it's breathable is, and just so y'all know, anybody that says that a full synthetic normal polyester or nylon thing is breathable, it's not,
Yep.
right? So this is breathable by two different features. One, by the fact that it is a button-down shirt, right? And I don't mean that as a cop-out. Button-down shirts have holes all the way down the front. They're usually looser fitting. You've got airflow within your back, but also what this fabric does, what it has with this double weave texture on the back, is it creates airspace between your skin and the actual garment. So if your air and your heat from your body is not passing through the garment like it would with cotton or something natural or mesh, then you want it to be raised off your skin. That creates air pockets to go. It creates that wicking action that pulls your sweat out and through the garment. Keeps you way, way, way cooler. This fabric, just with this texture, keeps you way cooler than having something with a very, very thin but full synthetic flat texture, like a
kind of like a board short, where you have it kind of like hugs onto your skin, and it's that's something that we really were, if we wanted to make this synthetic shirt, we didn't want to have something that feels sticky, especially during active use. So.
Right. So that texture is actually better, worth more on the comfort scale, having all those silly vents around the back of your shoulder and on the back that you see in a lot of fishing shirts with a lighter fabric, but it's a lighter, thin, smooth fabric that when you get sweaty, it sticks to you. You clam up. Everybody's had that experience. So this is a cool shirt that we're excited about. And then there's about 5 other things, but what we really believe is that we can do one product well at a time. That's why you see us come out with very little and refine these things.
What about shorts?
Yep, shorts. Yeah, how could I forget? We're going to have a Flex Canvas short, so we're going to have the same features, fabric that you love from the Flex Canvas, but in the shorts. We're going to take some more data from y'all, probably via Instagram poll, on inseam length and things like that, see your preferences.
And fit, we want, that fit, we want it to be something that you feel good in and want to wear all the time as a spring summer short. So that's going to be something we're working on now to make sure it's the correct styling.
Yeah, and I want to welcome everybody that's come on since the last time we welcomed you. I'm going to remind you that if you didn't hear before, that this is a way, if you're watching live and not on YouTube later, this is a way for you to ask questions, get transparency, really hold us accountable and say, hey, I'm going to purchase clothing from you. I'm going to be a customer. I want to know more about what's driving you. I want to know who you are. I want to know how you design. So just drop those questions right here in the comments, and we're going to answer them. So I really appreciate the people that have asked so far.
Yeah.
We got Spencer Ingram in here, Do More of What You Dig, who's actually been a guest here. And he says, the shirt. He's actually seen this live when we were at Techstars in Austin, came through and really liked it. So this is the second version. He hasn't seen this one, I don't think.
Yeah. It's brand new, right?
Yeah, it's pretty new.
Ready to jump into the episode and go over focus?
Yeah, and we've kind of almost covered the first part, so we can kind of go quickly here. But let's talk about the idea. Chris, take us through.
Just anybody who's coming on, we're just going to run through for us the steps that how we actually design personally. And it's kind of also goes over some production details that how you actually produce clothing from an idea into something that you can produce. So that's where we're going to head. And the first step, as Andrew just said, is the idea. And I was going to just kind of hint on a story, a real short one, but for us, the way we go, because for us, it's usually definitely feature first and styling second. And so I was going to talk about Fayetteville, where we used to both work at. I was fly fishing in the summertime, waiterless free. And we came up, I'm just sitting in the water thinking, I need something that can soak up halfway. And so we came up with pretty quickly. What's that?
Just to be clear, if you're fly fishing without waders, you're going to get wet in your swim trunks or whatever you're wearing, and then that means the bottom of your shirt's going to get wet no matter what. You guys had that experience where it starts to slowly soak up. He wanted something that would stop that spread of moisture.
Yeah, that was how it happened. So it was, I got a paperweight light polyester bottom, and it basically split into a merino wool recycled poly split, really light and kind of similar to what we had there, but with merino. And the idea is what we're getting at is you get out in the field and you really, basically use what you have at the time, other products, things like that. And once you get out there and spend enough time, you know, doing the things you love, you can start to use that, you know, mindset of saying, what is it while I'm out here that's going to make my product, you know, come to life? And so that's where the ideas start to come from for us, is really being out in the field, finding things. And then, you know, when you think about Lives In as a brand, we have to do that, and you get out in the field and then you bring it back home and you say, now how would this be effective for the next things I want to do with my day? And so we try to do that holistic approach to starting out with the you know, being outside, and then we bring it back from there and try to focus on all the different features and parts that we could.
Right. So just to, you know, to kind of take it to the next thing. So we've had this idea, right? We're either out in the field, we're shopping, we're thinking, we're drawing on paper, we're just brainstorming, right? We're having fun with it. We had this idea. We said, okay, we're going to make, we'll just use the Flex Canvas pants. So, you know, that's the thing, because we want to make these pants have been in my head for years. So I wanted a slim fit pant that was tough and durable, that I could wear every single day, that stretched, that had pockets that I actually used, not ones that I didn't. Articulating all the feature set, right? So we started saying, hey, okay, what does this look like to these pants? Let's talk about it. What are they? What are the features? Okay, they're slim fit. Okay, what are the color? The color palette's very neutral, so you can wear it with a lot of things, right? The styling is subdued. Cool. Now we're going to go on to the next step, which is a product brief. And it gets a little more formal at that point. It says, okay, this is going down on paper. We're going to do the first sketch, right? So we sketch it. Then we write down, these are the features that we want on there.
And this is still kind of, you know, as we start to focus the ideas, it's kind of a time where you can throw things at the wall and kind of, you know, really say, pie in the sky, what would be your dream piece? How are all these ideas coming and formulating? And we put them down in what we call a brief. And it's pretty much just everything you can think of, we really start to play with and put it down on there.
Right. And we start to think about, what's the use case? First of all, what's the use case? Is it worthy, right? Should we make something for that? Two,
is it something that should even be brought into the world?
Right. And then the next step on that is, like, does it already exist? Is someone doing it as well as we could possibly do it already? And if they are, then we're not going to do something with it, right? Like, we don't really think that's worthy of taking the energy to create something new if someone's doing it really well. For some reason, the only thing that came to my mind was like an LL Bean having a really hard time. The rubber boot. But like that boot, like, if you're gonna make a water, it's timeless. It's been the same design since 1904. You could do something different with it, but we're not going to redesign that.
Yeah.
I'd kind of diverge there. But the next thing is, we write down those features and we say, do these things make sense? And then from this point on, we put a lot into it, right? Like, we put a lot of stuff on. This is where it comes time to remove things and say, okay, what is the true use case? What's extra? What are, we always have this balance, like we've talked about, between how does it look? How does it feel? How comfortable is it? Can you wear this every single day and get away with it, right? And that takes some things away. It's just how the process works. We set ourselves into a little bit of a lane, right? So we can't go this way, or else we're just going to, we'll never get anything done. And so we really do think about that balance, right? Does it work well in the field? Can we make it durable? There's certain things, especially ultralight stuff that we talked about, that we probably won't ever make because the materials involved in making it don't hold up to use and abuse. And there are brands out there that can make ultralight, for that specific purpose. We're probably not going to be that. So anyway, we're in that brief, right? The cool thing that comes out of a brief is we've got our use case, we've got our specifications, we've got everything. What's it going to be made out of? And this is where it gets fun, because we get to...
So step 3 becomes materials.
Materials, right? So we're sourcing materials. I want to take a moment to welcome people that came on here and remind you to ask the questions right down here. We've got a couple comments from people coming in right now, but just ask those questions you want to know about our process, ask about us, ask about anything.
So step 1 was idea. Step 2 is the brief, where we kind of put all of the pie in the sky stuff down and start to refine. And then now we're on step 3, materials. And materials is the reality check, is what I call it. It's where you really look at what's out there, where you're at is, financially and things like that. And you look at what you can really produce. And that's when you get to the materials. It's really fun.
Yeah. And just like life isn't all black and white, I'm going to insert an exception here. Every once in a while, we get a material.
Yeah.
And we're like, holy shit, this is an amazing hand. It's recycled, it's organic, it's so awesome. It feels amazing, it feels tough. What are we gonna make with this?
Yeah.
And that happened. Like, that's actually happened with that shirt right there. Originally we thought about using it for shorts, lightweight pants, shirt, like all sorts of stuff, and we just kind of say, okay, this material has these properties. How can we best utilize that? So anyway, back to that. We get to send out, like, I think I've written it this way, or set up basically like a metaphorical bat signal. We have 10 or so mills that we work with. We have a sourcing partner that keeps communication tight with all of them. We say, hey, we're looking for this cotton polyester spandex blend and these things, and we want to see what you got, right?
Again, that's all based on a brief where we've spent the time to focus on what we really need. And that's when we can send out and say, what do you guys have?
Yep. And I'm just going to hold these things up again because you see, like, this is for the same fabric outreach. This one's a nylon blend. You can kind of see the texture in it. This one is a polyester blend, and they're different weights. They're different hands. One's softer, one's swishier, those kind of things. And so all, these things and more come back for the same request for fabric. So at that point, we get more choices, right? We really get to say, okay, we were surprised. We thought we were going for something with, this particular characteristic, but we were stunned by this fabric. And we say, okay, man, let's see what we can do. And at that point, we ask these mills for what's called sample yardage, which is just usually 10 to
10 yards, 15
30 yards, max of fabric in whatever color they have around. You can kind of know how this happens right here. So, like, they happen to have that color on hand in that fabric. So we said, cool. It doesn't matter what color it is to go and test it out. So we get that and start going into the design of what's called a tech pack. And
technical package.
We won't spend too much on this because it gets a little dry.
This is equivalent to an architect's blueprints that allow you to place every detail, fit, sizing, everything possible, trims placement, where everything's going to be. And this is when your pie in the sky idea starts to be focused and honed in, and you can actually take your ideas and say, this is what we want. And you get to use this as your chance to make your first sample.
Right. And you can kind of see that this is a 16-page document going all the way into what our labeling looks like, where it's going to place, all these things. So at that point, we've made our tech packs. We've got our first version of the blueprints. We've got our fabrics we want. They're actually in this tech pack. They're already at the factory because we've sent it there. We've got the trims. Usually, a lot of times the trims are a little bit later in the process because they have to be custom.
Yep. It's very common at this stage to basically allow the factory to make your product and use whatever colors, whatever buttons, whatever things, but it's just for you to get that first piece in your hand, which leads into the next one, which is called a proto sample. It's just a very initial thing to see if your thing is even worth a damn.
Yeah. What's up, Ryan? Just welcoming Ryan in here. Always here. Very loyal. Thanks for coming in every week. Just an example. So this is our first. This is a third prototype, I apologize, of the High Wool fleece when we were still making it. As you can see, the color's a little bit off. The zipper is gray instead of black. Yep. The internal liner, our mesh, is actually white. You're right. So, like, these are just small things. I believe, it actually has our logo on it. But a lot of times it'll just be like a placeholder.
Yep.
It'll be white insides. I actually have some with a purple zipper, right? Because we want to get going on prototyping.
Yep. And this is also a chance where, it is on – sometimes your first proto might not be your actual fabric, but if it is, it's a chance for you to get it in the field too, see how it's performing. But if not, then you work on fit and everything on this at this moment, and that's when you can send all your edits back in an updated tech pack, and then you get your second proto. And a second proto is usually when you have more of a form of what you're actually trying to build, and that's when it's kind of more exciting to see the second, because you're starting to see this thing really develop.
Right, and so it's important as you go through this process, if you do go through this, right, your first prototype a lot of times looks really different than what you had in your head, and that's and luckily we have a factory partner and a sourcing team that's really good at building tech packs, and we've just been blown away by some of our first prototypes. Right,
pretty impressive.
Really good looking But it's okay if they're not, right? Like this is the first pass through a very detailed technical document, and sometimes the factory doesn't get it perfectly right. So that first proto is usually major fit and construction updates.
Yep.
A lot of times, like if you have two fabrics, they might be flipped. Say you have two different fabrics on one piece, they actually flip the usage. So like your panel fabric is your main body. That's okay. It's what the first proto is for. Usually, though, for us so far, it's mainly been fit. So like we get it, and all of a sudden, this is a big deal, right? You get it, and it's 3 inches too short in the torso and really wide, so it's fitting like an old school football jersey or something. You're like, wow, this is way off. But you keep your head up, right? And we just take our measurements. We go back to our tech pack. We go back to our size reference samples, which is just basically a pair of clothing that we have that fits really well.
Yep.
That we're using as a size reference. And we send it back. And usually, I mean, version 2, at least with the factories we work with, comes in very, very close on fit.
Yep.
Usually at that point, that's when we start looking at, because we look at all this stuff. We don't just ignore it and say, this fits okay, right? So like on our shoulder seams, if it's right on top, but we wanted it to be 1 inch set back so that your backpack strap doesn't sit on a seam.
Yep.
That's when we make those things. We didn't really worry about that too much in the first one because the fit was so far off.
Yep.
Like that, you narrow down your focus from
and this is also
changes to small changes.
Is also a chance when you circle back to all your steps previous. You know, you look at the idea, you look at the brief and the materials, and you go back to this use case where you can actually start using this piece in the second proto to say, is this hitting all the aspects that we design around? And is this something that is actually going to be, again, something we want to bring to the world?
Right. So second proto, like you're saying, is usually when you can put it on. I mean, first proto sometimes, but like second proto, you can put it on, you can wear it.
Yep.
That's usually what I do is I just put those things on and I wear them. I'm a medium as
Yep.
a general size, and luckily general sample sizing is in a medium. So I'd happen to be sample size, which is good.
You can give it out to athletes at this point and things like that and start beating them up.
Yep. So version 2, usually smaller edits, and then we get a third proto in. Third proto is usually pretty damn close. A lot of what you see in our marketing, what we leak out and show y'all, is a third proto. Mm-hmm. Because by this point, we're actually confident enough sometimes to actually go ahead and dye some yardage so we get it in our closer color to what's going to be full production. We're putting final trims. Mm-hmm. So libs and logos, libs and labels, our own buttons, real YKK zippers instead of whatever sitting around, usable things. So we can send it out for testing and test it ourselves. And then we get to fourth proto.
Pre-production.
Or pre-production. Ideally, you're at pre-production by this point. Sometimes we've gone to fourth and fifth protos because we still have things we're trying to figure out, still not comfortable with. But fourth/fifth/pre-production, that's the PP sample. Yep. It's basically, this is it. This is your last
and this is your chance to check everything against your updated tech pack to make sure everything is correct. This is when you can get a fit scale, so you can get a whole set from your smallest size up to your largest size that you're going to be offering. And so you get all those, you make sure all the fit on every size is set. This is when you look at all the minuscule details of the product. And usually it's at this point with a third, fourth, but this is when you're saying, we're done, we're ready, we're going to pull the trigger when we have to.
Yeah, and I actually almost forgot size set sample. So there's a little bit difference between a pre-production and size sam. So fourth proto, and we're kind of skipping another one called salesman sample. So if anybody's familiar with the industry, you're skipping some steps. Either way, like there's a salesman sample that you can use. The size set is an important one. Say we're going from extra small through double XL. Usually what we'll do is sample like a small, a large, and an XL, right? So every other size to make sure that scaling is going up, knowing that we already have a medium. So we're being very efficient with our bandwidth. And then we take those and put them on people, check them against our size scale measurements to make sure that the factory is actually grading it and scaling it up to the sizes.
And this is an important time to also talk to people that are interested in doing this themselves. This is also a moment when you have to start to look at budgets and say, you know, you've already put stuff into this and you only have a certain amount of sample yardage that you've purchased. And so what Andrew's saying, you know, is at what point do you build all the samples, or do you start building specific sizing and then you can grade from there? And it's a game you have to play when you're growing your brand. Right.
And there's something else I want to touch on here too. For a small brand, for a big brand, for anybody, if you know, we hang our hat on high quality, right? We want to make high quality products. The way we can do that and not freak out, right, is that we're doing QC and quality assurance at every single step. So
Yeah.
even on first proto, if what is supposed to be a true flat felled seam is just a mock flat, we call that out right at the beginning. And then usually what will happen is the second proto will come in good, but sometimes they'll try to sneak by some easier stuff in that process. This happens in general with any line produced clothing, right? They want to make it more efficient. So every point of the way, we're kind of having that uncomfortable conversation and calling people out and saying, hey, look, we need this to be this way. This is the way it's spec'd in the tech pack. It's built this way for a reason. And we're doing that the whole time. So we're the small stuff, right? Like, this is where, it's the reason why you see some clothing come out that just doesn't look well thought out, is because not only do they not have time to go through, or the willingness, or the drive to do it like this, it's hard, right? It's uncomfortable.
And it's also who you're getting in bed with,
Right. So, but like on third proto, if you've been going into this for months and months and months, and you're like, you see this one little small thing, and you're like, okay, it's so small, I could let it go, right?
Yeah.
Or you kind of have to make that choice that's somewhat uncomfortable and say, I'm going to call this one out one more time and say, hey, look, this is the way it has to be. Sorry, we're going to be like this every time. Like, kind of, we've had to have that conversation, like just kind of, get used to it a little bit, because every time we go through the process, we're going to be nitpicky about these things, because we're nitpicky about our products, because once again, we want what we put out in the world to be as high quality as possible.
That's correct.
So at that point, there's bulk production, right? And that's where the only thing I'm really going to touch on on this one is that quality assurance, quality control piece, is that we go through that whole sampling process, production process, controlling quality and controlling our standards. You have to be there when it comes off the line.
Yep.
Or the only alternative to that is the very first one that comes off the line is called TOP, top of production. Needs to get sewn, shipped overnight to you. Nothing else goes. And then you need to look at it very closely, because that type of line's building it. There's a difference. Usually sampling happens in the sampling rooms, which is a smaller production facility. A few sewers that can do small run production samples, stuff like that. But full production's done on a full line. The new people, right? And they've been trained, but so you have to figure out if that very first one off the production line is exactly the same as your pre-production sample. Now, in their defense, they have the pre-production right next to them on the line to compare to, but no one's going to look at your product like you do. So that's the last step. We're either on site as we were for the black canvas pants, or we got an overnight sample mailed for the high wool fleece.
Yeah, normally you just you have someone on site ready to examine your samples so that they can get running on it, and that's when you want to try to be as efficient as possible, and that's how you can build efficiency, is just having people that are on your back with you to vet the factories. So.
Right. And so just, first of all, we got one comment. We got Lil Bison Co. saying, such a detailed process. Thanks for putting the work in. Excited for V2. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. The thing that I want to highlight with this process is that, like, when we used to work together, Chris had this long flow chart. He printed it out.
It was like 6 feet long or something.
Yeah, it was paper like this. He printed them out. It was like 16 sheets long. He put it across the whole ceiling, and it was every single step in the process, from an idea to getting it done to getting it shipped.
Yeah.
And so the reason I point that out is that we learned which one of those processes, if you ignore, will come back and kick you in the ass so hard you won't know what happened. So, right. So we've learned this through trial and error. We knew when we set out to build this company, to build these products, we weren't going to overlook the small stuff. We weren't going to fall into the same traps that happen over and over and over again in apparel design and production that just leads to an okay product, right? We want an exceptional product. And we feel like if we follow this process, if we, produce with these values and these principles in mind, we're not going to produce anything dumb in the first place. Hopefully, I'm sure we will. But then two, we're not going to screw it up in the production process, because we are being detailed, right? And we're detail oriented. And as we scale and grow, we'll only be able to do more of that, because it's ingrained into our culture right now, just the two of us, that we're going to do it this way.
Yep. So thank you so much for tuning in, you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much. If you didn't get a chance to ask your question, feel free to send us it directly on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube afterwards, feel free to leave a comment, send us an email, get on our Kickstarter, leave a comment there, send us a message. We're pretty responsive. If we're not, it's just because it'll be a couple hours, hopefully mostly, but we'll get back to you. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Yeah, we'll be back here next week, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain.
I think you're
Get it all
right.
right. Wait, 5 p.m.
Uh-huh.
Wait, 9 p.m. West Coast? Or
Yeah,
East
9
Coast?
p.m.
Anyway, I was on a roll. Anyway, we'll be here every week. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Appreciate
we love you
it.
guys.
See y'all later. Bye-bye.
All right.